Hello friends, welcome to this program on Universal Design for Learning. You may be aware that the Right to Education 2009 requires that our schools and classrooms should be inclusive. This makes it implicit that teachers would have in the school in general and in the classroom in particular students having different kinds of abilities. There would be naturally a mixed group with a heterogeneous profile. So, what should the teacher do so as to facilitate the learning of one and all? She has to see that no one is left behind. But what can she do? What kind of instructional strategy should she design so that this happens? In order to get an answer to this question and to similar other questions, we have an expert with us in this area, Professor Amitabh Mishra. He is a professor in the School of Education, Indira Gandhi National Open University. Welcome to this program, Professor Mishra, and let us begin this discussion by asking you, what is universal design for learning? What is it? What does it mean?
Exactly, you said that classrooms are not not homogeneous learners. Learners have a very widely differences in their abilities, maybe in their learning, maybe they may be coming from different difficult backgrounds. So what I mean to say, we really need classrooms to be inclusive, and we really want our teachers to teach all children. I underline again, all children. It means if the teacher has to teach all children the content, the instruction, it has to be planned that it reaches to all children. So, universal design for learning is such a principle, such a concept which can be applied to the classroom by our teachers. If this is applied by the teachers, it will be easy for all students to enter inside the content what the teacher is teaching, and they can learn effectively. So, through this discussion, what I would like to highlight today, what is universal design for learning?
So, basically you intend to say that a child, irrespective of her needs or we may say that her special abilities or disabilities, should be there in the group which is going to learn in the classroom. So, no one should be denied. Opportunities should be equal for everyone in the classroom. This is, I think, what you intend to say.
Yes. So, universal design for learning is such a platform where teacher can facilitate learning of all children.
Very true.
Learning of all children.
Yes.
So, before we discussing about universal design for learning, I hope we must understand what is universal design.
Yes.
What shortly called UD.
UD.
So, now we will take you to a building, to a very old building. So, where you can see the stairs. So, climbing these stairs, you know, it is not easy, and maybe for you, you can, but what is about small children, old people, a pregnant woman, or person having disability? Hence, we may say that which is okay for an average learner may not suit to all. That teachers need to remember. Just you can think about a person, he wants to use a post office. These 2-3 stairs which could be easy for most of us, but you can see how this person is struggling.
Very true. This is because he has got some kind of disability, and therefore, as we see in this picture, that he finds it very difficult to use stairs. So, there should have been some kind of facility that would facilitate not only able-bodied people, but also people like him.
Exactly. For teacher teaching in the classroom, teacher may think it is a very easy concept according to the teacher.
Yes.
But it may be difficult for some child.
For some children, it may be difficult.
Yeah. So we have to see that. We planned our instruction such a way which is accessible by everyone. So I like to show you a building which is a school building which is under construction. You can see how the stairs are built. Think about some children maybe from this picture you can see a child with a wheelchair.
Yes, I
There
can
can
see
be-
one child who is wheelchair bound.
Exactly. And how this child can use this kind of building? A person with visual impairment also, having a child with a visual problem. So how the child, it's really, they have to depend on others, that we don't want. So universal design is something what the person can do very comfortably, independently on their own.
And if we consider the physical dimension of this concept of inclusiveness which you are explaining, I think that means we need to be very sensitive while we carry out construction of buildings, so that not only those who have got some disability in movement, but maybe even those who do not have a disability today, but may become disabled tomorrow for some reason. For instance, someone might fall down, a child might fall down while playing and get hurt, and even if she doesn't need a ramp today, maybe tomorrow she needs it.
Exactly. So our physical environment can create a barrier for a person who uses wheelchair, you know. So we, even in the instruction also, in the learning also, there are a number of barriers. We need to remove those barriers.
And you mean to say that this physical aspect is just one dimension of the concept of UDL?
Exactly.
This is just one dimension. There could be many other dimensions also.
Yeah, exactly. Teacher is something, you know, designs the classroom learning. So while designing, she has to make the way, find out the strategies, find out the techniques that would suit to all learners.
And from the photographs, what we can make out is that this concept of universal design is applicable not only to educational institutions, but beyond it to other sectors also.
Exactly. And sometimes what happens, we make adjustment later on. We know adjustments are not bad, it is good. But sometimes what happens when you make adjustment later on, so it doesn't fit well to the system. It doesn't integrate into system. Exactly like if we teach whatever content, intending that the average learner would learn, later we thought that we can add something, we can supplement something. So that really doesn't help much. If that we could have incorporated from the beginning itself while presenting our content.
You are right. I think what you intend to say is that
You can
first,
see, look at this building.
Yes.
Look at this building. So later on we realize that this building is not accessible by person who has physical difficulties.
So first they built stairs and later on maybe they thought of adding a ramp to it.
So exactly, sometimes the teacher thinks
So there
the
is a-
special education something or the inclusive education is something that we have to teach as usual, then later on we can give some support. No, it is true for some children.
To some extent.
But why we cannot plan our instruction such a way from the beginning itself, that every child would learn effectively, comfortably. There would be absolutely no problem.
And if it is done right from the beginning, then there would be no duplication of efforts also. So time, resources, these things can also be saved.
These concept actually emerged from the work of Macron. Ron Mack, he is a great architect, and he has a problem with his physical abilities. So he thought, why things would be created only for person with disability? Why we cannot plan a building and everything such a way that can be used by everyone, So he thought of having concept of universal design applied to most of the buildings. You can just see this structure, this building. It is easily accessible.
Yes, accessible to all.
Anyone. The
can.
person with physical limitation, even a child with visual impairment, any child can get into it. Is absolutely no problem. So our teachers are like architect.
Very
So-
true. They are also architects, maybe of learning.
Exactly. So they design the classroom learning. They know where to start, what points to put there, how the things to be presented. So exactly, we refer our teachers an architect, and if they are designing some classroom learning, they should learn what Ron Mack have advised, what is universal design in his concept of physical environment has to be designed for the use by every person.
So, you mean to say that the teacher should also apply universal design in the classroom?
Exactly, like in the built environment, you can see this house,
Yes.
how it is made. It can be used by anyone. Even you can see even most of the advanced countries, developed countries, they use entire physical environment which is barrier free, and anyone can use it, even like we normal people while walking. So you know what difficulties we face many times.
Yes, very true, because people who are able bodied today may have a disability tomorrow.
Exactly, old age, and there
Yes.
are number of other things. So his idea is, why we cannot plan from the day one. So if we plan accordingly, so that would help everyone.
Therefore, it is a question of being sensitive to the needs of people with different kinds
Exactly,
of
and
needs.
we need to understand what changes we need to make
Yes, and that has to be done right from the beginning.
right from the beginning. So I just would like to give an example. Just think of, we are going to a restaurant, and like anywhere you go to restaurant or any food outlet, immediately they will hand over you a menu card.
Yes, this is the first thing they do.
And think about, a menu card is like this, and I use a spect. So if I have forgotten my spect, how difficult it would be for me to read.
Yes, the font is so small that it can barely be made out.
And also, like small children, they cannot get out of from this menu card.
Very
Yeah.
true, very true.
And if a person is illiterate, he doesn't know how to read, how can get use of this menu card? So now we have been coming up with new concepts. Like once I could visit some platform, railway platform, I could see this food stall. You see how nicely the foods have been displayed.
And moreover, there could also be visuals along with the text.
Exactly. So it will be easy for example, if you don't know a South Indian language, you can just point out this food item.
Yes.
I just want to eat that item. You know, so making things easier is the way what we call universal design, which fits to all. Like exactly, this concept has been adopted by many sectors.
Apart from educational sector,
Education sector has to come up. So far, it has not come.
it has not responded to the needs of differently abled people.
Exactly. So, like I can show you, a food industry is an international food outlet. So they have made in such a way the menu card, like you know, you can see what are the available in this restaurant, what you wish to eat, very easy to identify, whether you are hungry or less hungry, more hungry, you can choose according the size of your food item, and also you can see the price are displayed. You can also check your pocket, how much I can pay. So all those informations are given here. Even you can see there could be some red sign to say that it is chilli,
There
it's
is
spicy,
chilli, there is
it will be
that
hot.
Yes, it would be
So,
hot.
so these all information, it can be helpful for a very small child, for a person who is not much literate, even those person who has visual problems to read the menu card, or have low vision also, they can get benefit out of this. So if food industries can bring changes, the industry changes its services to meet out the need of all person. So why we as a teacher cannot change the way we teach
We teach in the classrooms.
in the
yes.
classroom?
Yes.
Why our focus is only on to the means average learners? We have to think about, there is a wider difference in the classroom.
But what should the teacher do so that she can adopt universal design while teaching in the classroom? What is she supposed to be doing?
See, teacher has to understand that every child has some kind of strength
Yes.
and weakness.
Yes. No one can be perfect.
Perfect.
That's true.
And the method cannot be same for every child,
Very
because
true.
one size doesn't fit to all.
No.
So let us see here in the picture. You can see all these who are seen in the pictures are excellent in their abilities.
But they have different abilities.
They're different abilities. But as a teacher, if I'll say to them, I'll take a test and this examination will be same for everyone. So think about what would happen. So like if they will be asked that I am very fair, I'll give the examination of climbing the tree. For a fair selection, everybody has to take the same exam, please climb that tree. And you can see what Albert Einstein he has rightly said. Everybody is genius, but if you judge a fish by its ability to climb a tree, it will live its whole life believing that it is stupid. No?
That's very true. Einstein had said very rightly, and as we see in this picture, there is an elephant and there is a penguin. So an elephant naturally would not be able to climb a tree, but elephant has got an ability of its own. So
Exactly.
similarly, in a classroom also, a child who is weak in one aspect may be strong in some other aspect.
Exactly, we talk about multiple intelligence.
Yes.
You know, we have to find out how the way we have to present our content. Somebody is good in music, good in games, even the things can be presented in that form also.
That form.
We have to find out the way how it would suit to the our learner. So, but as you know, as you rightly said, education is something, it is our fundamental right. Everyone has to learn.
Yes, now from 6 to 14 years of age, it is a fundamental right.
And if you think about the quality of education, it means appropriate education. Really learning really works there.
Yes, that
If
learning happens.
If learning happens, then we have to consider all children should learn in a classroom.
That's
Then we have
true.
to think of there should be some design in our learning, so that our teaching learning process takes place which covers all kind of learners.
So you mean to say that universal learning design would include instructional strategies, certain methods and materials, and also ways of assessment, and therefore it would be based on certain principles.
Exactly. What happens actually, many times we feel that the same method would work for all children, and you cannot have same method, same strategy that fit to all. So with the growing movement towards serving all type of learners in the classroom, the teachers are searching for ways to adapt curriculum, modify instructional strategies, assess students in a way that permit them to demonstrate what they have learned. So the education system cannot be rigid. Without flexibility in teaching learning process, we cannot proceed further. Therefore, all teachers look forward for a universal design for learning, and this universal design is based on how we can teach in the best way in the classroom. The good teaching is based on universal design. It says that a curriculum should include alternatives to make it accessible and appropriate by designing instructional methods, materials, activities and evaluation procedures in an effort to assist student with wide differences, as you have rightly said, in their abilities to see, hear, speak, move, read, write, understand language, attend, organize, engage and remember. All sorts of abilities what we describe here means the student have wide range of abilities, and based on that we need to have a universal design for learning that suits to all.
So there may be some children who are not very good in reading, and there may be some who can read but may not be able to write so well, and as you said, there may be some having some difficulties in movement. So there are different types of children in the classroom, and the teacher has to teach keeping in mind different needs. And
exactly, like somebody may have come from difficult background, maybe their mother tongue may be different,
yes,
maybe somebody culturally very different. So we have all sorts of learner in the classroom, So our instruction should be designed in such a way that suits to all. So we want a effective learning. We need to bring learning to people instead of people to learning. So the learning has to be facilitated in whatever means the teacher can do. So if you compare, you bring UD to UDL, universal design to UDL, what we have to say here, that we need to adapt in our instructional design rather than adding or later on afterthought. So here, what we find here, the UDL we refer to instructional environment, whereas in UD we refer to physical environment.
You may say that UD is something generic kind of thing, and this is more specific.
More specific applied to learning environment.
Applied to learning.
Academic curricular environment. We know that learning barriers may exist in our curricular environment. It means, like an architecture, the teachers need to design instruction in such a manner that suits to all. But we understand that modifications and changes in traditional teaching learning process to make universal design, it would consume time and effort. We know it is making things universally designed, the classroom transaction, it is not easy. Teachers have to put more efforts.
And for that it is implicit that the administrators of the school management also needs to take this into consideration, so that this constraint of time and other facilities are not barrier for the teacher in implementing UDL.
Exactly, exactly. But there is no other way out.
Yes,
there is no other way out.
You are very right.
Because Right to Education Act in right place, we have to consider the appropriate learning by every child.
Quality teaching and learning.
Quality teaching. See how Ron Mack has changed the things. He rightly said, consider the needs of the broadest possible range of users from the beginning. We know our classrooms would be very diversely packed, and this diversity has to be tackled from day one. And that's why Macron, he designed the universal design concept.
So this is how a teacher is supposed to be teaching in a classroom, so that she can represent her content in such a way, she can express it in such a way that the differently abled children are able to engage in the teaching learning process. So it is basically a matter of representing, of expressing in diverse ways.
Yeah. I repeat that one size doesn't fit to all.
Yes. Could you give an example? For instance, what comes to my mind right now is that even if the teacher is using a blackboard, she could also read out.
Exactly, the right example you have given. Blackboard the teacher is using. What would happen if a child has a problem with vision? You got it?
That's very
if
true.
If teacher is lecturing, what happened a child who has problem with hearing?
Hearing.
So if can we plan the both things together? We are writing at the same time we are speaking, or we are putting the models, or we are displaying the charts. So there could be different way of representing our contents.
So maybe the teacher could come with some charts, so that when she lectures, those with hearing inabilities would also be able to benefit by looking at what is there on the chart.
Exactly, you are coming to the point. So before that, I would like to stress on the different principles of universal design.
So what are these principles?
That principle I like to explain to you. The principle one is, that is, what you do or teach in the classroom, we make useful for including those from diverse background. That is equitable use. Secondly, second principle is flexibility in use. You accommodate a wide range of individual preferences and abilities. And thirdly, it is perceptible information. That means it is important to make easy to understand by all. Fourth principle is tolerance for error. You are able to communicate all even people who cannot see or hear or speak well. And our fifth principle is low physical effort It means you need to communicate your transaction or whatever content. You do not need much physical effort, but use efficiently and comfortably. And our last principle is that is you use appropriate size and space, regardless you just body size, posture and mobility. So these principles need to be applied in our classroom.
So could you give an example for the last principle regarding that space and size?
Yeah. For example, you want to plan a classroom or any learning environment. You can think about what should be the space. Child using a wheelchair, a person with visual impairment, we need to think about their space also, what they require for that. Even the way we want to present the things, there could be multiple ways of presenting. So that's why we want there multiple means of presentation, representation, multiple means of expression and multiple means of engagement. These are the guidelines for the teacher, what they are supposed to do while applying the universal design in their classroom. So we can look at these three aspects, that is representation, expression, engagement. There is multiple ways of representation, multiple ways of expression and multiple ways of engagement. The lecture method of Blackboard,
she has to represent the content in a number of ways, number of different ways. Professor Mishra, we are coming towards the end of the program, and we are really thankful to you for explaining all these things so well, and we would like to say that our teachers would really benefit from the things that Professor Mishra has explained to us, and I am sure that they would be able to apply universal design for learning in their classrooms. Thank you, Professor Mishra.
thank you.